The lunar, the months, correct? They follow the months, and in fact the constellation in astrology, not that I'm an astrologist, but explaining things to you a little bit, it's not even month to month per se, it is from like day 15 to day 15. Why? Because it's following the lunar calendar the same way that Judaism is. I'm not comparing astrology to Judaism.
So, like we know that it's the new month because the crescent moon is in love.
Because the crescent moon only appears in the western sky. The new moon that tells you that it's the new month only appears in the western sky. So what? Then we are under that constellation. Right now we are in the tail of Leo. So right over here in the western sky at night will be Leo. And as the night progresses, you will see Leo moving to the north, and in will come Virgo. And as Virgo passes through, then will come Libra, and then Scorpio. And they parade across the sky through the night. But as the sun sets, we are still in Leo. We're in the Lion. But by next week, we will be where? This will be the predominant constellation in the western sky. This will be the predominant constellation in the western sky. What is this? Virgo. So, you say, well, I don't see Virgo there. I don't see a virgin there. I don't see a woman there. Well, you have to understand some things. This is like a stick picture of Virgo. If you go on the internet, you'll see all kinds of artistic work. And the reason why, this is also very confusing to people trying to figure some things out, and some of the things that have been said lately on the internet and everything like that, because they're not realizing that they're following astronomical figures. Thus, they're only taking these stars, and they're saying that this is Virgo. There are over 100 stars that actually make up Virgo. These are only the main stars, thus the stick figure. Is everybody with me? Now, if you go outside and you look in the night sky, you can find Virgo. She's there. If you have Sky Map or any of those apps, they'll show it to you. But this is what you're going to see. This is what the Sky Map is going to show you. But we cannot see here, we cannot see the totality of any of the constellations, and not the way they did in the ancient world. Why? Light pollution. So you can't see, we cannot see here in the United States, we cannot see 2/3 of the stars. There's too much light. Even if you get way out in the country, you cannot see the stars the way they used to see it in ancient times. Because the light reflects off of the atmosphere. The whole atmosphere is brighter today at night than it was in ancient times. So we can't see all these stars that they used to see. We're told that the constellations back in the day were actually quite vibrant and quite discernible. Where today, you would say, I don't see that. I know people today that have a hard time finding the Big Dipper and the Little Dipper. And these are the most famous constellations in the world. And so, this is what you'll see. This is Virgo. This is her feet. This is her body. This is her head. This is a hand, and this is a hand. An arm and an arm. So, you have two important two really important portions here, and that is her right hand. She's laying down, by the way. Don't look for her to be standing up. She's laying down along the horizon. And this hand is going up. And this is called, this portion here between these two stars is called the branch. And this star here, this is the main star of Virgo, and it is called Spica. Everyone say Spica. And Spica means the seed. Say the seed. So you have the branch here and the seed. But she is what? A virgin. Yet she has what? So if you go to Genesis chapter 3, after the fall of Adam and Chava, and God gives them what's coming their way now, the curse. And what is it that God tells the woman? What is it that God tells Chava? Verse 16 of chapter 3, to the woman, he said, I will greatly multiply your sorrow and your conception. In pain you shall bring forth children. Take it back. Look at what it says. She is pregnant. What? In what? In pain. Your desire shall be for your husband, and he shall rule over you. Look at what he says to the serpent up in verse 15. I will put enmity between you and the woman. Not you and the man. This is a strange thing. Why the woman? Why the woman?
She carries the seed.
She carries the seed. The woman is more spiritually attuned than the man. This is why the women do not have to do what the men have to do. This is why it is not ordered for the women to wear talit, to wear tzitzit, to do these things. The woman is not circumcised. The woman, these things, the woman does not do these things. Why? Because it is the man who must continually, constantly be reminded. Ladies, honesty check here. Have you ever said to your husband, I've asked you to do this, I've told you to do this, whatever, I demand? No. But have you ever done that? Have you ever get tired of telling your husband over and over, reminding and reminding and reminding and reminding? Why? Because we are doomed to forget. I left home this morning. Every Shabbat, I go through the same routine, This morning, I got thrown off of my routine. I left my big black bag that had everything in it, and it's sitting at home. And I'm here. I don't have my talit. I don't have my Seder book. I don't have anything. So thankfully, my son went and picked it up and brought it over. Forgetful. Do you know that I can be, there's not a day that goes by that I do not walk out of the house, get to the car, and realize that I forgot this, and I have to run back to the house and get it and come back every single day. Not the same thing, different things.
Part of the routine.
It's part of the routine. We forget. So God gave us reminders, and they are called wives. The woman is more attuned to the spiritual world. This is true. And Judaism teaches this, the rabbis teach us this, that the woman is more attuned. She does not need to be reminded. Who is it that you find mostly in the synagogues and in churches? It's the women. Who is it that has the family devotions, that urges the family devotions and these kind of things, that pushes the devotions and the prayer times and all these things with the family? It's the woman, always. My mother. My dad was a pastor, but it was my mother that pushed the family devotion time. The woman is more spiritually attuned. The man is more connected to the earth, as Rav Shaul says in the book of Romans, that he is of the earth, he is earthy. And so, the truth of the matter is, ladies, you are actually in the forefront of spiritual warfare. Because you're the one raising the children, you're the one reminding the husband, and you're the one who is usually the leader in prayer. That is, that you are the one who is the praying person of the house. I can remember coming downstairs in the morning, our old farmhouse, coming downstairs in the morning, and I can remember from the time I was very little until I left home and went to college. I can remember coming down at 6 o'clock in the morning, and my mother would be on her knees in the kitchen praying for us, praying for her children. And I can tell you that that has a big impact on who I am today. To go down and to be sitting there at the dining room eating breakfast and hear my mom praying for her children one by name. There's an enmity between you and the enemy that does not exist between the men. Because you carry the spirituality of the family within you. And so, it says, I will put enmity between you and the woman, between your seed and her seed. But the woman does not carry a seed. The woman carries the egg. The man has the seed. And so here we have the first clue to, what is she called? Virgo, virgin. And what is she holding in her hand? Her seed. Spica. And what does this tantamount to? What is this speaking to? What does she hold in her other hand? The branch. Who is the branch? Yeshua, Mashiach. Remember Yeshayahu, Isaiah speaking of the branch of Jesse, of the tribe of what?
Judah.
So this is telling you that she's holding the branch, that what she's holding here, this is the Messiah. This is Mashiach. You have something?
No, I'm stretching. Sorry.
Okay. That's allowed.
Well, the branch and the seed are the same, so.
Yes. They're one and the same. She has in this hand the branch, and she has in this hand the seed. By the way, Spica is one of the first stars that you see in the evening. Down by the horizon, when the sun sets, Spica is the brightest star in the western sky at this time of year. Very easy to pick out. Very easy to pick out. So, this conjunction, which we're reading about in Revelation, it happens one time a year. And here's the conjunction. This is what it looks like. This is Virgo. You have Spica, by the way. Spica. Guess what Spica is called? You know, sometimes different people, cultures have different names or whatever. Guess what Spica is called in Hebrew? Serah, which means seed. It's the word for seed. So what happens is, Go back to Revelation. Chapter 12. A great sign appeared in the heaven, a woman clothed with the sun. That is what? That the sun is setting. By the way, guess what the Hebrew name for Virgo is? Betula. Everyone say Betula. And Betula means virgin. So that she's clothed with the sun. Can you see that she's clothed with the sun? And that the moon, this is the moon. I did the best I could. This is the moon. That the moon is at her feet. Okay, everybody see that? This is a conjunction of Virgo, the sun, and the moon. And it all occurs. Notice what kind of moon do you have?
Crescent.
Crescent, or what we call the what? New moon. This is the setting sun. It appears in the western sky. The setting sun. The sun sets, and in the sky, following the sun, you will see, it looks like a fingernail. The moon looks like a fingernail pointing down to the earth, the first crescent. And so, it's like this. It's a fingernail pointing down to the earth. The sun is setting, and the first crescent. By the way, another correction. What is called the new moon in astronomy is not a new moon. It is actually, literally, it is the dark moon. The new moon in astronomy is no moon. Okay? This is the actual new moon. Now, this is important. Why? By the way, it's not that you see these things here. This must be seen in Jerusalem, in Israel. Okay? You can see the new moon here, but if they don't see it in Israel, it doesn't start the month. It must be seen in Israel. It must be seen in the land. So the Jewish months follow the sighting of the new moon in Israel. Now, they don't right now. Why? Because the temple was destroyed, the Sanhedrin was deposed, and so there's no Sanhedrin to determine that this is a new month. So Rabbi Akiva, during the last Sanhedrin, the Sanhedrin met, and Rabbi Akiva and the final Sanhedrin put everything on the fixed calendar. Why? Because we must stick together. As Benjamin Franklin said, we must hang together, or most certainly we will all hang separately. This is something about Judaism that people don't understand. And there's all these arguments in the Hebrew roots movement and Messianicism and all of these kinds of things. One of the things that people do not understand is this, that Jews must stick together and we must follow. We're all working together as one. It cannot be that that group over there is celebrating on one day and this group over here is celebrating on another day. We all celebrate the same day. So what? We follow the rabbis. Why? Because we're commanded by God in Torah to follow our instructors, our teachers. If they're wrong, the blame is not on you, it's on them. Now we're talking about staying together as a group. We're not talking about committing sins and these kinds of things, but we're talking about, okay, so what day, what these kinds of things. We stay together as a group. Therefore, if you want to know what day we celebrate, you look on the calendar of the Orthodox community. That's who we follow. Now there's this recent push the last several years of spotting the new moon and over in Israel and all of these things. They're spotting the new moon. That's fine. That's great. There's only one caveat. There's one problem. There is no Sanhedrin. Until there is a Sanhedrin to which to report a new month cannot be declared in that form. We must go by the ruling of the last meeting of the Sanhedrin. You understand? Something else that we must understand and realize, recognize, is that we can't just do whatever we want. That's individualism. That's great. But we are a body. We are corporeal. We are corporate. We work together. So you can't everybody just be out there doing your own thing however you want to do, be whatever. Pick and choose. No. We stick together. So, what is this sign? What is this conjunction? This conjunction occurs on Erev Rosh Hashanah. Every single year on Erev Rosh Hashanah, we have this conjunction. What is the conjunction? A great sign appeared in the heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, with the moon under her feet. How do we know that it's Rosh Hashanah? Because Virgo is here, the sun is setting through her, and what is at the feet? Which moon? New moon. Do you know that within 24 hours Virgo will have moved slightly enough, just enough, to the north, that the new moon, the second day of the new moon, is beginning to set not under her feet, but in Libra. There's only a small period of time in which this conjunction takes place. It is less than a day.
Do you think that's also something that can only be seen in the land?
Excuse me?
That's something that can only be seen in the right way?
Yes. That is also one of the issues that people are not understanding with this conjunction. It's not how you see it here, it's how they see it in Israel. They are on a different latitude and a different longitude than we are. They are in a different position. The height of the land is different. All of that changes perspective. It does not matter how I see it here. It matters only how they see it in Israel. It's always about Israel. The perspective must always be from Israel. So, we may see the moon a little this way or the moon a little this way. That doesn't matter. It's how do they see it in Israel. That's what matters. Because guess what? We're going to see it different. We're on a lower latitude than Israel is. So guess what? We see less of this than what they see. They actually get a fuller picture of this than we do. And then you remember that much of Israel is mountainous. Therefore what? They're higher up in the sky. It's going to change your perspective. This occurs on Rosh Hashanah. So, if a great sign appeared in the heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, the moon under her feet. This is a conjunction taking place on her head, a crown of 12 stars. We'll get to that. She is pregnant, crying out in birth pains and agony to give birth. She gives birth. There is another constellation. I didn't have time to mess with everything. I'm learning more and more about this. By the way, all of this, you can find books all the way back in the 1800s. Pastors, Christian pastors who discovered these things. And get on the internet and just look for it. Google it. The Gospel in the Stars. And how I came upon this, and I've been doing this for 10 years now, how I came upon this was, I was reading that and I was like, that's the birthday. That's the birthday. So I started Googling it, I started researching it, and sure enough, there were pastors all the way back in the 1800s who had come to the same conclusion. There is another constellation that sits right here, and it is called Coma Berenice. Or Coma Berenices, actually. Coma Berenices. Berenice was the wife of Ptolemy, Egyptian king and queen, and her husband was out at war, and so she cut off her hair as a sacrifice that her husband would come home safe, and she left it in the temple of one of the goddesses, and when they went back in the morning, the hair was gone. Somebody had stolen it, but the priest came in and said, "Oh no, the goddess was so pleased with your sacrifice that he took it up and he threw it up in the sky, and look, here it is, all your hair hanging down in this constellation." But before that, it was not known as Bernice's hair. Coma means hair. Bernice's, the hair of Bernice. It was actually a constellation of a mother sitting in a chair holding a child. As in the Catholic icon, Madonna and child, mother and child. It is considered to be a part of the constellation of Virgo. That she's sitting in her chair, all the way back to the early Egyptians. They have descriptions of this constellation as a mother sitting in her chair holding her child. Over here is another constellation called Bootes. B-O-O-T-E-S, Bootes. In non-modern times, Bootes was called by another name, the Great Shepherd. All of this is in constellation of Virgo. That she has the mother and the child, she has the Great Shepherd, she's holding in her hand the branch. She's holding in her hand her seed. And she gives birth. When does it happen? When does it happen? Rosh Hashanah. Erev Rosh Hashanah. When was he born? The evening of Rosh Hashanah.
Erev means evening.
Huh? Erev means evening, yes. E-R-E-V. Erev Rosh Hashanah. The evening of Rosh Hashanah. And remember that all of the days, all the Jewish day starts in the evening, at sunset. So this is the starting, as the sun sets, this is the starting of Rosh Hashanah. So Rosh Hashanah is his birthday. That's what I'm telling you. Okay? Somebody give me the time. All right. So you would see Virgo over here. Just to the north of Virgo is Leo. In some of the videos that have been shown around the internet, it is also problematic because this is Leo. But modern astronomy does not show this. Modern astronomy only shows this section, just the body and not even the full head, just this right here. All of this is Leo. In fact, there's more. So the recent things that, that they're trying to add planets in to make this happen and that happen because there aren't enough stars and everything like that, that is not true. And it really doesn't take much to research this stuff. How many stars do you count here? Well, let's start here. 1, everybody with me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So we don't need to add planets, do we?
No.
The whole constellation is actually there. The problem is, remember what I told you about Virgo, that modern astronomy only shows you the stick figure, more or less, so to speak. Here's Leo. That's what Leo actually looks like. When you put in all of the stars, all of the systems, that's what Leo actually looks like. You see the difference? This is what they would see in ancient times as opposed to that. And not even that, if you would. Just cut all of this off, and all you have is this line here in this little box. And that's supposed to be Leo. No. Now it says that there are 12 stars, right? So if you go to Wikipedia, these are the 12 stars. These are the 12 main stars. If you go to Wikipedia and you Google Leo, you will find that they list the 12 main stars. By the way, even as with Virgo, there are actually hundreds of stars that make up Leo. Now, why is Leo important? Because Leo is what? A lion. And the lion is a symbol of Judah. This is the crown that's on her head. You don't need to add planets. You don't need to add anything else. It's all there already. This happens every year. He's there. He crowns her head continuously. He's always there. The main star for Leo is right here, called Regulus. Regulus means the little king. The diminutive, the little king. Why little king? Why little king? Who is the great king? Hashem. And Mashiach is, if you would, the prince. Do we not call him Sar HaShalom, the Prince of Peace? And so, what is a prince? He's a little king. Saying what though? He is of royalty. He is of royalty. So, if you turn to the book of Genesis, the death of Yaakov, verse 49, chapter 49, he's blessing his 12 sons. Verse 8, Yehudah, Judah, you are he whom your brothers shall praise. Your hand shall be on the neck of your enemy. Your father's children shall bow down before you. What does that sound like? Royalty, a king. Look at the next verse. Yehudah is what? A lion. What is the main star of Leo? The little king. Notice what it says. Notice where Regulus is located. Where?
Right hand.
From the prey, my son, you have gone up. He bows down. He lies down as a lion. Who shall rouse him? Look at verse 10. The scepter shall not depart from Judah, nor a lawgiver, Regulus, from between his feet. Where's Regulus? Between his feet. Until Shiloh comes. Who is Shiloh? Mashiach. Until the Messiah comes. This is what is sitting on the head. You have Virgo. Remember, Virgo's laying down. And on top of her is this crown. Cool? You have the birthday of the king. And this tells us also when he's coming again. It is this time of the year, this is what Rosh Hashanah, the coming of the king. That's why the blowing of the shofar, the blasting of the trumpet, to announce what? The arrival of the groom. Then you have Yom Kippur, the day of judgment, the day of purging. And then what? Sukkot, the marriage. You see, what Yom Kippur is for us is the purification of the bride. That he may present you spotless and without wrinkle. All right, we'll close with this. Ready? Oh, and so, one more thing for you. Revelation chapter 12. So it says that there's a great dragon ready to devour. So this is Virgo right here. I don't know if you can see it. This is Virgo right here. This is her feet. This is Spica. This is her head. This is the branch. Here's Leo. This is the one I told you. If you look at the form of Leo, it is the modern astronomical form of just the sickle and the box. Here's Regulus. Okay? Everybody with me? So where's this dragon? Right here. This is the dragon. His name is Hydra. His name is Hydra. Where do serpents live?
In the water.
Where do serpents live? Where do snakes live? In the ground. In holes in the ground, right? Do you usually see snakes? Or do they usually remain unseen? So, is it mysterious to us? Is it strange to us that Hydra cannot be seen in this constellation? Because Hydra is beneath the horizon. Where does a snake wait for its prey? Unseen. So this serpent, this dragon, is waiting unseen. This is the horizon right here. So when you're looking at the sky on Rosh Hashanah, when you're looking at the sky, you will see Virgo right at the horizon, Leo right at the horizon, Libra right at the horizon. There's the horizon, and then underneath what you cannot see, there's Hydra. Notice that how Hydra looks like a snake? You see that? It really looks like a snake when you see Hydra in the sky. It looks like a snake, a serpent going through. Here's the head, and here's his mouth is open. Ready to do what? What does the scripture say? Ready to do what? Ready to devour the seed. As soon when? As soon as it's born. Do you remember what happened when Yeshua was born? Immediately Herod tries to kill the child. So, is this a snake? It says a dragon. A dragon's a reptile, snake's a reptile. But I've got something cool for you. The ancients saw this. Today in modern astronomy it's called the crater. But notice where the crater is. Right here. Attached to Hydra. And it looks like little
Wings.
This is the dragon. I don't have time to develop it anymore. Oh. But the dragon is there, ready to devour. This is why I'm telling you, Rosh Hashanah is the day. Everything is there, just like it's described. And when there's only one day of the year where the sun sets through Libra and the moon sets through her feet, and that is Rosh Hashanah. Okay, close. So here you have it. Can y'all see?
Yes.
So here you have it. Sagittarius, the winged horseman. Right? Scorpio, who is? Scorpio is?
Scorpio.
Scorpion. Libra,
The scales.
Virgo,
The virgin.
Leo.
The lamb.
Okay, and here you have the gospel in the stars. This is the gospel in the stars, saying what? The wages of sin is,
Death.
what does a scorpion do?
Kills.
By the way, if you ever see Scorpio, that's not all of Scorpio. There are two more, there's two stars missing from right here. By the way, this star right here, this yellow star, this big star here, is actually red. It's very prominent. It is the heart of Scorpio. There are two more stars that appear here that make a stinger on Scorpio's tail. What does Paul say? 1 Corinthians chapter 15. What does he say about death? The sting of death is sin. So, Scorpio represents what? The wages of sin is death. The soul that sins shall surely die. This is Scorpio. Now you have next Libra. Libra is a triangle with extensions on it. Basically, if you see it, it's like this with extension. It's a scale, a measuring scale, a weighing scale. Like you put the weight on one side and gold in the other, or what have you. So, why the scale? Do you remember when Nebuchadnezzar's son took over the kingdom and he threw a great and lavish party, and he took all of the things out of the temple,
In the right hand.
and he saw a hand from heaven come and write on the wall, and he could not read the writing, so he called Daniel, the prophet, to come. And the writing on the wall said, Mene, Mene, Tekel, Upharsin. And the king asked Daniel to translate, what does this mean? And he said, you have been weighed in the scales and found wanting. You don't measure up. For all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. Guess what? Yom Kippur. This is what this is about. We're all weighed in the scales. We're all weighed in the scales. So what? You have been stung by sin, therefore, you're weighed in the scales and you're found guilty. What is not shown here, something that is really cool, is that this star right here, this side of the scale, there's another star here, there's a star here, and there's a star here. And it makes a cross. And the cross is pushing on this side of the scale, saying what? He fills your lack. It's there in the sky, you can see it. There's a cross. And one of the stars that makes up the cross is this balance beam right here. The Messiah is pushing on the balance, on the scale, in your favor. What you are lacking, where you're falling short, He makes up for all of that. And He brings you into perfection. Not that we deserve it, not that we can earn it, just out of pure, sheer love for us. How does He do this? Through a virgin. He comes from an untainted line, the seed of a virgin. And as a good tzaddik, proving that he is a tzaddik, he offers his life for the nation. tribe of Judah, the offspring of David, the king. He is Regulus, the lawgiver. The lawgiver gives his life for the lawbreaker. And the lawbreaker comes into fellowship with the lawgiver. And he sets up his kingdom on earth. This is just a portion of the gospel in the stars. Every one of these constellations, every one of them, explains the gospel, step by step. There is order to God's universe, and He put these things in the sky as signs for us so that we could help us to understand what it is that He's about. So I can tell you today, there's no doubt in my mind. He wasn't born December 25th. There surely would not have been shepherds out in the field watching their flock by night in the middle of winter. But what is more wonderful to me is He slips in to the final book of Scripture. By the way, this is my real birthday. And this is when I'm coming back. This is why, for all of these years, for centuries, for millennia, the days of Elul are called Yomim HaTeshurim, the days of repentance. Why? Preparing for the coming of the King of Kings. You only have about 15 days left to Yom Kippur. May we use them wisely as precious moments of soul searching. I will tell you that there are days that I get discouraged. There are days where it's difficult and hard. There are days where I would like to live somewhere else, do something else. I've been doing this a long time. Then I get tired. Then I remember this is for the King. It's all about the King. Helping you, helping me, helping us to realize where we are, how soon, how close it is to us. That we must not give up and we must not give in. That rather we must excel and shine all the more as we see that day approaching us. It's like looking up in the sky and you see some far distant star. But in a week, that star has grown closer and is growing brighter. And by the next week, it's even closer and brighter. And they tell you, well, it's not actually a star, it's an asteroid or a comet or something, and it's headed this direction. What are you going to do? Because there's no avoiding it and it's coming straight at us. What are you going to do? There are those who will live carelessly and they will party, eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow we die. There are others that would get serious about life, and there are others who would try to make amends with people that have wronged them or that they've been wronged and take these things. There are those that those last few days would be precious to them. And as that star approaches and grows nearer and nearer, the more precious the time comes. The more precious the days become. and the more serious the work becomes. And this is what I'm saying. I'm saying September 23rd, no September 23rd, that's not the point. The point is that every day is precious. Every day should be lived as though this were the last day, because I don't know. There was a middle-aged lady, very well known here in this city, driving down the expressway. I was there. I got off the expressway just before it happened. That lady plowed into the back of a semi-truck, and instantly she was gone. She did not get up in the morning thinking that that would be the last day of her life. I guarantee you she did not. None of us did. We are to live our days. David said, Lord, teach me to number my days. If I'm numbering them, that's saying what? You see, when I count money, I take it out of my pocket and I do what? Count it. Why do I count my money? It's important to me. But we don't count our days. David said, God, teach me to number my days. Meaning what? Every day is important to you. Take them seriously. That doesn't mean that you have to walk around all grumpy and can't smile. That means that you are about the Father's business. That you are serious about your job, your responsibility, your ministry, your relationship. But one day, all this is going to be done. I long for that day. I hope for it. I'm so tired. I grow weary of hurting. I grow weary of pain. I hate death. I have done so many funerals. I want him to come as soon as he can. But while we're waiting for him to come, we must pull together and become a body. And in effect, this is what he's waiting for. He's waiting for a willing spirit among his people. The sages tell us that the temple was destroyed for baseless hatred. Saying what? There were so many parties of Judaism that none of them could get along. And they hated one another, and they despised one another, and they made fun of one another, and all of these things. And finally God had enough, and he had the temple destroyed. You look at what's happening today. We want Mashiach to come back. We're trying to do whatsoever you please. Follow the rules with a good heart. Pour yourself into a life of godliness. I've said this many times. Whenever we read in Scripture that they did whatsoever was right in their own eyes, it never works out well. It never ends well. There's a reason why God has given to us leadership and sages and wise people to lay down for us what it is we should do and we should not do, how we should live and how we should not live. We must come together and we must unify. Baruch haba Hashem Adonai. Leave room.
Okay. If you don't mind, I'm going to have a sit down because I hurt. Little did I know that 6 months later I would be diagnosed with stage 3 colon cancer. And for the next year, I would face death, the death that I hate. I almost died 5 times. And so those words are very poignant to me, very, very pregnant to me. But understand that, as you can see, it's very clear when his birthday is. And people will say to me, well, what difference does it make? It makes a big difference. How would you like it if we just took you and your birthday and we just celebrated it whenever, however, whatever we wanted? Your birthday is your birthday. It is what it is. And we don't like people messing with our birthday. Josh had the indiscretion, my youngest son, Joshua, he had the indiscretion of being born on September 11th, 1986. He was what, a freshman? Is he over there? Freshman in high school. September 11th, 2001. And he would complain for years to come that his birthday was ruined because all anybody talks about are airliners running into towers. So kind of imagine how you would feel if people celebrated your birthday, but not really. Mostly they celebrated themselves on the day that they wanted. Which, by the way, just happened to co-align, and all of its traditions and everything that is done on that day, with pagan idolatry. Because that's what the Romans did to institute cohesion, a unity in the empire. They would take all the religions and mishmash them together. And Rome still does that to this day. That is their method of operation. When we were so rudely interrupted yesterday, where I was going with the message was that if you read in Isaiah, where were we, 61, 62, 63, it says, "Who is this who comes out of Edom, from Basra, with his robes crimson?" And the sages tell us that this is the Messiah. That he comes from Edom. Who is Edom? Edom originally is Esau. The men have already got to this in the Bible study where we discussed Adam, Adamah, blood, Edomah, red. Because Esau was a redhead. And he was hairy. And he had freckles. Do you know that when David was going to become king, do you know that 10 of the 12 tribes didn't want him to be king? That he had to go to war with his own people to become king over the nation, to unify the nation. Do you know one of the reasons why they did not want him to be king? Because he was red, which is a sign of Edom, Esau. What? Wasn't David from the tribe of Judah a Jew? Yes, but his great-great-grandmother was Ruth the Moabitess. And 12 generations later comes Yeshua the Messiah. And there's this big argument. I think there's a good reason why there's no pictures of him, why God doesn't describe him to us. I was reading this one day from a Jewish rabbi. He said, what would people think if Yeshua had red hair, freckle face, hairy? Because we don't think of him as being that way. Yeah, because of Esau. Here's what the sages tell us concerning the Messiah and Edom, that this is a Messiah coming out of Edom, coming from Bosra, because he was, they tell us that there's a story of a great rabbi who had a vision that he was visited by Eliyahu, by Elijah the prophet. And Elijah the prophet asked him what he was doing there, and he said, I'm looking for the Messiah. Where do I find him? And Elijah the prophet told him, you will find him in the gates of Rome, visiting his people who are weak and sick and suffering greatly. And so what the sages tell us is that the Messiah is hiding in Rome. What does this mean? Well, because how many of you have heard the story of Joseph? You see, there's two Messiahs, or there's two comings of the Messiah. One is Messiah. The one that everybody is looking for is Mashiach ben David, Messiah, the son of David. But before Mashiach ben David comes, there must be first Mashiach ben Yosef, Messiah, the son of Joseph, who is called the suffering servant. Isaiah 53. And so even as the Messiah, son of David, comes in the form of David, that is, everything is like David's. So Messiah, son of Joseph, everything is like Joseph. Saying what? The story of Joseph, he's highly favored by his father. But even his father and his family reject him more or less because of his elevation. He is sent out looking for his brothers who are supposed to be tending sheep. When he comes to them, they mock him, they scorn him, they put him in a pit, and then they sell him for the price of a slave. Where he's taken to Egypt, he's persecuted, tormented, tested, put into prison, elevated out of that prison to become the second most powerful man in all of Egypt. And there you have the story of Jesus. You have the story of Yeshua, highly favored of the Father, detested by his brothers, sold for the price of a slave, imprisoned. He even goes down, the scripture tells us that he goes down into the prisons to preach to them. Salvation has come. From there he is elevated to the position of the second, sitting on the right hand of the Father, with all power and authority. Even as Joseph had all the power and the authority of Egypt, so Yeshua has all the power and the authority. Is given unto me, both in heaven and in earth. But do you remember when Joseph's brothers came? And they stand before him, and they don't recognize him. Because he doesn't look Jewish, he doesn't sound Jewish, he doesn't smell Jewish, he's not kosher at all. He's Egyptian. He doesn't even speak Hebrew to them, he speaks Egyptian to them. And so today, Yeshua is hidden in Edom. He's hidden in Rome. Yeshua does not look, Jesus does not look Jewish to the Jewish people. He doesn't sound Jewish. He looks like a Roman Catholic. But when he returns to the Jewish people, what does Joseph do? He goes behind the curtain and he weeps for his people. Do you know that Yeshua today is weeping for his people? He's behind the curtain. And he's weeping over his people who do not even recognize him, who do not know him. And he can't reveal himself to them yet because they have another test to go through in order to prove themselves. But the day is coming when he will walk out of Edom and into Jerusalem and present himself again as the King of Kings, as their Messiah. And this time they will see him and they will say, "Who did this to you?" And he will say, "I was wounded in the house of my friends." But then in his mercy and his grace, he pours out all of his forgiveness to not only Israel, but to the people of the world, all of creation. Will come to worship him. And you know what the prophet says? And every year, on Sukkot. Remember, talking about Sukkot, talking about Sukkot, talking about Rosh Hashanah. Every year at this time of the year, the entire world will go up to Jerusalem to worship the King of Kings. And people will say, well, Christmas is such a beautiful holiday and it has such memories and everything like that. God said, when you see how the pagans worship their gods, do not apply that to me. It is detestable. That's why we don't do it. The prophet speaks of bringing trees into the house, nailing them to the floor, decking them out with gold and silver. That's part of why they went to Babylon. That's why they went into captivity. That's why we don't do it. We learned our lesson. Do you know when the pilgrims came over? The Puritans, the pilgrims, when they came over, they worshiped on Shabbat and they kept the fall festivals. And do you know that that's actually what Thanksgiving is about? Thanksgiving was Sukkot, the festival of Thanksgiving, because they saw themselves as being grafted into Israel. One of the things that they forbade was the celebrating of Christmas, because they understood its pagan roots. Do you know that to celebrate Christmas, if you were caught celebrating Christmas, that you would be tied to the post, you would be whipped, you could be whipped, you could be put in the stocks, you could, any of these kinds of things? That's how dreadful they saw it. It's not about your emotions. It's not about your niceties. It's exactly what we're studying in the book of Leviticus in our Bible studies, in our dual Bible studies. It's about doing it, serving God, pleasing God, and doing it His way. Doing it His way. He has requirements for you to approach Him. And you must do it His way. He says, you draw near to me and I will draw near to you. But if you're going to keep going your own way, all we like sheep have gone astray. We have turned everyone to his own way. And what I said in the video, when everybody's doing his own thing, his own way, it never works out well. So, saying that, Rosh Hashanah, Friday night, 7:30, be here. We invite you to come, even if you don't attend here, whatever, that's okay. We've got room for everybody. There's always room for one more. Huh? There's always room for Jello. I don't know which one of you is Jello, but there's always room for you. All right. So, okay. Did anybody have any questions or any comments concerning the video? Yes, ma'am. Yes. 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 The in Ezekiel 37, where he speaks about the two sticks, literally it's the tribe of Judah and the tribe of Ephraim. Okay? And basically what Ephraim is representing, the tribe of Judah, are the Jews who remained, and Ephraim was taken into captivity. Ephraim is a analogy of all of the all the 10 tribes that were taken into captivity. The thing about the tribes that were taken into captivity is most of those people were lost. What Judaism teaches, what the sages teach, is that before Messiah comes or at the coming of Messiah, they will recognize themselves. They will understand that they were originally from Israel, as part of Israel. And see, there are people walking around today who are from Israel, who are from the people, the nation of Israel, who don't even know that they're from the nation of Israel. We had a young lady in high school when I was teaching the Bible as history class, or the Bible as literature class. I didn't teach it, but they would have me come into the class and answer questions that students had. And this young lady approached me one Monday morning, and she said, "Mr. King, I have something to share with you." I said, "What is that?" And she said, "I found out over the weekend I'm Jewish." She was a senior in high school. She said, "I found out over the weekend I'm Jewish." And I said, "Oh," and I said that to me, that's cool. And she said, "Well, I don't know what to make of it," and she was kind of worried about it. And basically what her story was that many years ago, her family came from Mexico, from a little village down fairly deep in Mexico. And the only religion in the village was a Catholic mission upon which the priest would visit like once a month. Once a month they would have a Sunday service or what have you. Jews have been persecuted in Mexico since its inception, since the Spaniards came over. And in fact, the Spaniards, when Columbus came over, look it up, many people believe he was actually a Jew. And most of his crewmen were Jews, and he just happened to leave on the day of the Great Inquisition, the persecution of the Jews, when Queen Isabella began the Great Inquisition. That's the day he left. And so it is believed that he was making an escape route for the Jewish people to leave Spain, because none of the rest of Europe wanted us. And so thousands of Jews fled to Spain and came over here to Mexico. And in fact, you can look it up. Monterrey was founded, the city of Monterrey, Nuevo León, was founded by a converso, a Jewish man who converted to Catholicism in order to escape the Inquisition. And he was burned at the stake in the plaza in the middle of the city. And there's a plaque there to honor him to this day. I don't know. But saying that it is estimated that between 35 and 45% of the Hispanic community in the Rio Grande Valley are the descendants of conversos. The same is also true with New Mexico. In fact, they think that half of the Hispanic population in Santa Fe are conversos. So, this young lady told me, well, her mom told her over the weekend that her grandfather, because they were in this very anti-Semitic region, that they were no longer Jews, they were now Catholics. They were never to speak of Judaism again. They were never to call themselves Jews again. They were Catholics, and from here on out, and what he was doing was he was trying to save his family. Because even as recently as not too long ago, like 40 or 50 years ago, Jews were being persecuted, put to death in Mexico. And I'm telling you, you wonder why they have all the problems that they have down there. He said, "I will bless those who bless you, and I will curse those who curse you." And so Um, so her mother never told her until she was 18. When she turned 18 years old, she said, "By the way, mija, you're a Jew." So a few months ago, a couple of months ago, my mom is 99 years old. She was talking with my sister, and she was telling my sister that she could remember her mother and grandmother taking her to visit her grandmother's family in north central Pennsylvania. And my mother told my sister we weren't allowed to play with the other children. And my sister said, "Why?" Because they were Jews. They didn't believe in Jesus. And my mom told my sister, "It's a shame that I had so many cousins that I never got to know and never got to play with because they were Jews and they didn't believe in Jesus." She had never told us this story. She had never said anything about it. That her mother's family were actually Jewish. Their last name was Jacobi. That they were Jewish. The family split. This side became Christian. This side stayed Jewish. The side that became Christian, the side that stayed Jewish, they never intermingled anymore after that. And we lost our identity. And so that's the two sticks, is that in the end times, one of the signs that we're in the end is that people will begin to wake up to their Israeli, their Jewish identity. It will be made known to them who they are. And the rabbis say that even if you are not born a Jew and you weren't raised a Jew, if you have a love for Israel and a love for Torah, you're Jewish in your heart. And that's more important than anything. So, is there any other comments or questions? Yes. Yes. And actually, astrology actually comes from this study. Astronomy is the science. Astrology is the fortune telling and everything like that. We have a word called masal. How many of you have heard a Jewish person say mazel tov? Which basically, when somebody gets married or there's a baby born and we say mazel tov, which has come to mean congratulations, but literally what it means is good luck. So, when a couple gets married and they say mazel tov, they're saying, well, good luck with that. And when you have a baby, well, good luck with that. But basically where it comes from is masal has come to mean, it has been perverted to come to mean to fortune telling and those kinds of things. What masal actually is what you just saw, the future being told to Abraham in the stars. That's the masal. That's the future telling prophecy, as opposed to what astrology tries to do. Well, you're going to meet this boy today, whatever. Don't get out of bed, whatever. Okay, so that kind of stuff. And so we don't do that. That's witchcraft. We don't get involved in that. This is from the Spirit of God given to us in the Scriptures. And so, yes, we follow this. Is it okay to study the stars? Absolutely. It's one of my favorite things to do. I haven't done it in a long time since I got sick. I used to go out and sit on the canal banks with I had an Australian shepherd, and he and I would get in the truck and go sit way out away from everybody. Remember what I was talking about, the light pollution? And so we would go way out away from everybody where there weren't any lights, and I would just sit there and just look at the stars, and the coyotes would come and start howling, and so, oh, I would start howling back at them, and my dog, because he's a shepherd, he would jump in the bed of the truck with me, and we would be there making our own pack, howling together at the coyotes. But anyway, great times. Anyway, so to answer your question, is it okay to study the stars? We used to, many, many years ago, when I first started teaching this, we used to actually go out into the field north of Harlingen, north of the airport, and go out there and sit and watch these events actually take place. And we would blow the shofar. We would go out there on Rosh Hashanah, take the whole congregation, we'd meet out there in the field, and then we would sit there and watch the sunset, watch the moon set with it, watch Virgo appear. And then we would sing Christmas carols, not Christmas carols, we would sing birthday songs to Yeshua. And we would celebrate his coming. So yes, it's okay to study the stars. Just don't get into the fortune telling, the witchcraft aspects of it. Okay? Any other questions? Anybody else? All right. Our Father, our King, we love you. We thank you for loving us. We thank you for the magnificent way you hide secrets in your word that are there for us to discover. We thank you for our King of Kings, our Messiah, that he would willingly come and live his life on this earth, suffering all things even as we suffer, but without sin, so that in his perfection and purity he could go to the cross and pay the price for our sins, that he who knew no sin would become sin for us, that we might be called the righteousness of God. We praise your name for this. We thank you for this day that you have set aside for us to worship you, to show our gratitude for creation, to show our gratitude for the coming of the Messiah, the Redeemer of sinful man. And so as we prepare for these days, Lord, put a fire burning in our hearts, great enthusiasm, excitement, anticipation. As we spoke yesterday, that day is coming. We've practiced and practiced and practiced, and we've rehearsed and we've rehearsed and we've rehearsed, and that day is finally coming upon us. And we won't believe it, even as a bride can't believe she's finally reached her wedding day, that she's finally walking down to her groom. But that day will come, and we will see you face to face. Father, what a day that will be. So take us safely through this week, Father, and bless us as we go. And may we bring blessing to you. May your name, because of us, be lifted up in praise and honor and glory. Through Yeshua, the Messiah, and his merit alone, we ask these things. Amen. And I think we have food to eat, so let's say the blessing over the food. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei minei metzonot. Blessed are you, Lord our God, King of the universe, creator of various kinds of food. V'imru. Amen. Shalom. Back to our regular schedule. By the way, next Shabbat morning, we won't have a service because of Rosh Hashanah Friday night. So next Shabbat morning, the Boker Shabbat service we will not have because we'll be here late on Friday night. So it will be hard for a lot of people to then have to get up and come back and go through 4 hours of service. We want you to have fun, enjoy it, and then sleep in, relax, and enjoy your day of rest and comfort. All right? So we will see you for Rosh Hashanah. And then next Sunday, we will have Bible studies at the regular time. Men, 9:30, ladies at noon. Ask Miss Wilma, wherever she is. She's right there. Yeah, talk to her.
See you later.
Okay. Okay, love you. Good to see you. And you come.
Huh? Huh?
Come.
Maybe. Joe's working 2 jobs right now.
Yeah.
So he gets out of work at 5, and then he goes into the second job at 6:30. And then he's cleaning one office building on the west side of town, and then has to come to the east side of town to clean another office building. Sometimes he doesn't get out until 10 or 11.
Yeah.
It just
Probably next complete.
isn't us coming.
Yes.
Are you volunteering?
I said.
Míralo.